the race. That's why a lot of people, the technical people, the people who do this for a living, say it's not a Brexit situation. But that's what Donald Trump is counting on. If you're behind in the polls, you can defy them with a great operation. Donald Trump in many of these places is just counting on as being this huge, come out of the woodwork.
As somebody who's watched him we all have, but I've, really studied his candidacy over the past year and a half and the ups and downs, that he's fallen off the discipline wagon.
Turns out he's once again fallen off the discipline wagon, but will it matter?
Oh, so here's the 2016 flashback. This is where we were on this day in 2016, where our projections had Hillary Clinton at 268, knocking on the door of 270 electoral votes in the White House. But look at this map. We had the blue wall leaning blue on that day, right? She lost all three of those to Donald Trump, which is why everybody at home, be prepared for anything to happen tomorrow, in the sense that you can be leading by a little bit. But we knew there was Trump movement at the end. The question was, she had led the race for so long, was it enough to overcome? Well, it turned out on Election Day, it was enough to overcome. So where are we now? Right, we're in a much less clear situation, right? Let me just quickly do this. In 2020, we already had Joe Biden over the top. It was pretty clear from the data that Joe Biden was going to win the 2020 election the day before the election. We still had to wait for the count because of the pandemic complexities of the election, but it was pretty clear. And then again, you had to deal with the question, is Donald Trump surprising us again in 2020? And he did not. So here's where we are now. So the vice president, it's a modest lead, but she's had a consistent lead here. Modest lead, but a consistent lead here. That would get her there. This is why Pennsylvania is so important. This is why both candidates are spending so much time and have spent so much.
And she's going to be there the entire day.
Right. And she's going to the right places in terms of getting votes and stuff. Because look, if she holds these, doesn't mean she will. But she's had a modest, consistent lead in both of those states. If she holds these, that's enough. As long as she picks up Nebraska's 2nd congressional district where all the polling, so she's running strong. That's her easiest path. No path is easy. But that's the easiest path. If she doesn't win this, let's say Donald Trump wins that. How does Harris get there? Well, you have to win at least 2 more. And even these 2 wouldn't be enough. Let's say she did well out here. Those 2 aren't enough because they're not big enough in terms of how many electoral votes they have. That's why Pennsylvania is so prominent here. If you're Donald Trump, you'd think if you win Pennsylvania that you're going to do this again, right? That you're going to defy the polling again and you're going to do this.
Because almost always, except for I think it was 88 that they didn't vote together?
They voted together since 1992.
Yeah.
They have voted, the 3 of them have voted together since 1992, including 2016 when they did this. In every other election, they have voted blue, which is why, again, will we know the winner here tomorrow night? Maybe not, but we might know the winners here. And so you see if they're sticking together or anything like that. But if you watch this play out, even if Donald Trump wins the blue wall, he still has to win somewhere else. Right, but if you're winning the 3 of these, it's a pretty safe bet. You're going to win at least 1 or 2 of those. We live in a pretty nationalized election climate. So that's why this one is so key, because it's 19. Right, this is 16. That's 16. You think, well, that's only 3. But when you're trying to get to 270, if we have he wins 1, she wins 1, then you just get into this wild card race. I mean, it lets us, if Donald Trump were to win the whole blue wall, right, this is what's fascinating to me. Let's just, these are the whiter, older states, right? Demographically, they should favor him. These have been more Republican states of late. But let's say Donald Trump won all that. Can the vice president still win? Well, yes, but she would have to pull off a Sun Belt sweep. You have to come across and just do the entire, come on for me there. She would have to do all the Sun Belt states, right? It would be a very different map, a map like we've never seen before. But 2020 was a map with Arizona and Georgia flipping like we've never seen before,
right.
Which is why, these are the 3 that most likely are going to decide who goes to the dance, who gets 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Those are the 3 likely to decide it. But again, we live in this crazy year, where there's many different paths, there's many different ways to get there. And again, we could have a blow by blow, state by state, or somebody could sweep them like Biden did in 2020.
We're just going to have to let the voters vote.
Math.
We'll tell you what happens. It is very possible that Donald Trump could just win this outright, legit. But it's not going to happen that they're going to be done counting for lots of reasons. Primarily the laws of these key states, MJ. North Carolina and Arizona, new laws may delay reporting of early votes. Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, mail-in ballots are not processed until Election Day. Nevada, ballots postmarked on Election Day are accepted even if they arrive by November 9th.
Yeah, and all of that is why we have been doing so much work to try to just prepare our readers and our viewers on what kinds of scenarios we might expect, and just to let it sink into people's heads, the slowness, the potential slowness that we might see in the counting and certain states being called, that all of that is within the realm of possibility. And that has translated for the Harris campaign on actually essentially predicting over and over again in all of their public statements, we fully expect that Donald Trump is going to either declare victory or say that something has gone awry, something sinister is at play, so that they can almost numb people to that possibility, so that when he does it, there aren't people that are saying, oh my gosh, is this a thing that's happening that we should be suspicious of? They want people to have heard that over and over again.
Everyone should take a deep breath. It's been a long campaign, but it is over almost soon. But one thing that I'm sort of struck by this is we talked to voters. January 6th, the election of denialism is part of this campaign now. It was not the last campaign. That was after 2020. So this is driving some voters to the polls. I met a woman in Wisconsin last week who said she is voting in this election. Her main issue is January 6th. So all of this, every time that the former president says it, he is sort of driving some people potentially. But let's all take a deep breath because it may not take all week, but it may.
I talked to Tim Scott, who's a supporter. He came on State of the Union as a surrogate for Donald Trump, asked him about the lies that Donald Trump has been telling. Let's watch that.
I would never tell any candidate on the ballot to talk about what happens if they lose. Obviously, you're going to lean into the victory, especially
I
when the
appreciate
latest
that, Senator.
polls
Forgive
in
me,
battleground
but
states
spreading
says
false
that you're
rumors.
running forward. You're running ahead of your candidate.
Totally, but saying false
Sandra,
things
you and I
about
disagree on this one.
fraud
Totally disagree on this
is
one.
not. You think it's okay to spread false rumors about fraud and undermine the integrity of the election, regardless of what happens?